Hi 10A. So to start off with, we're just going to go through the answers again with your 002 books, please. And we're on page 46, 002, page 46. So let's see if you got these correct. The population of Malaysia is larger than the population of Singapore. The population of China is, and because it's a big difference, we could use any of the following: a great deal, a lot, or much larger than the population of Laos. The population of Malaysia is slightly or a bit larger, so it's only a little bit, than Sri Lanka. China has the largest population in the table. The population of India is not as large as the population of China, and the population of Japan is not as large as the population of Indonesia. Okay, so we're just going to move down here. This is just about analysing the graph just really analysing the graph. So have a look down here. We've got 3 different cars, and it's got some details about the car. So how big the engine is. Seating capacity means how many people can fit in the car legally. Fuel economy is how many miles to the gallon. So how far can I drive per gallon, or how much fuel basically it takes. This is in the city and then in the highway. So in the city, you'll kind of stop, start, stop, start. But if you're on a highway, you're just driving nice and smoothly. And then finally, the base price. So what is the retail price for this vehicle? So we're going to have a look and answer the following questions. Which car seems to be the best value? So value as in which one is the best value would be for the price, what has the best parts to it? Which car seems to be the worst value? And which car would you buy and why? Then we're going to compare and contrast the engine sizes, top speeds, fuel economy, and cost of the car using comparatives and superlatives. So what I'd like you to do is just answer 1, 2, 3, 4 questions, 1, 2, 3 questions. Just write your answer here, and as usual, I'd like you to take a quick little photo that you can send me. I'll give you a minute to do that. If you need a bit more time, feel free to press pause on the video. Okay, so let's see if you got the answers correct. Oh, no, they're not going to give us the answers. We'll do it together. So which car seems to be the best value? I'd say the bottom one, the Volvo. Well, it's only got a 5 capacity. It still has really great economy as well, the fuel economy. And the price is kind of in between the two. Which one has the worst? This one looks like, because you're getting 34,000, we're only getting 27. Whereas over here we've got 30 to 34, 27 to 31. So this one, the Ford Escape, seems to be really good on those items. And which one you would buy? Probably depends, up to you. I definitely wouldn't buy a Volvo. I wouldn't buy a Toyota. I'd probably buy a Ford. But if I could have a Commodore, I'd go with a Holden. Okay, here we go. So we're now going to practice our paragraph writing again before we start our essays to make sure that you're confident in how they should be structured. And it's also practicing your compare and contrast abilities. So what I'd like you to do is you're going to write a short comparison on any of these topics, okay? So you just choose one of these topics, and again, this is going to be your work for the rest of the class, so make sure that you complete it and send it to me. So you can start with either do compare and contrast daily life as a university student in China with that of a foreign country, for instance, America. So what would life be like as a university student in China versus what would it be like as a university student in America or Australia or wherever? So you can choose that one. Or compare and contrast the food of your local area with the food of another area in your country. So the food in Kunshan maybe to Sichuan, Sichuan, I think that. I know that's very spicy there. So you could compare and contrast food in your province with food in another province. Or compare and contrast travel by bus and travel by train. So what are the similarities and differences? Now, we're going to use a little template, which is going to help you frame your thoughts. And this might be something that, especially if you're doing the dolphin question for your essay, might be a good way to organize all of your information. So here we go. So features compared and contrasted. So for instance, if you're going to compare and contrast university, you might want to write here, features would be what are you going to compare and contrast. So you might want to compare hours in the classroom. You might want to compare how many students that there are in each classroom. You might want to compare the extracurricular activities, so whether they have clubs or whether they don't. And then here, for each of these items, you would write the differences. So here might be China, and here might be America. So for what time, how long in the classroom? Here, for China, you might say that they spend 20 hours per week in the classroom, while in America, they spend 5 hours per week in the classroom. Then for the next one, if you're going to talk about how many students, in China, there are 35 students per class. In America, there are 300 students per class, or whatever the information might be. And here, you just write the similarities. So what things are very similar in both China and America at university. And again, here we don't need to write a paragraph yet, just dot points. Okay, so 1, 2, 3 dot points. So what features are compared or contrasted, and what are those differences? And what are the similarities, if there are any? Once you've completed that, you will be completing this document here on page 95. So there are similarities and differences between. The similarities include, and you're going to write that, the differences are, and what you prefer. So maybe you prefer cuisine or food in Kunshan to Sichuan, or maybe you would prefer to go to university in America, or maybe you'd prefer to go to university in China, okay? So the similarities, the differences, and what you prefer. Now, so this is the work for the rest of the class, but I'm not going to stop there. We're just going to move on and have a bit of clarification around the details of the essay. I know I've gone over this once, but repetition is often very important so that we can make sure that we learn and are completely across what is required for your essay. So I want you to flick through and go down to 4.16. Which is on page 99. So this is just again to go through the details of your essay, so page 99, all right? So the structure, as I gave you in the last document, the introduction. So it contains 2 or 3 general statements, and then we go down into a thesis statement. Now, before you write your essay, I am actually going to give you a class on writing introductions and conclusions. This is again just to give you a general overview. Then usually we have 2 or 3 bodies, depending on how long the essay is. Your essay is only 500 words, so in this situation, it's likely that you're only going to have 2 bodies, 2 paragraphs, or 3 short paragraphs. So paragraph 1 talks about first or first of all, or this is the second, next, or another reason, and then finally what the final reason is. And the conclusion is exactly that. It concludes everything. So the conclusion is kind of like a little summary of all of the other information. And it's got a final point so that the person that has read your essay walks away thinking or knowing something new. So we're following the plan that I'm completing with you, but let's just have a look at the entire process. So the writing process, we start with researching. Think. So that's what you've actually been doing, doing your pre-planning. So you've done a pre-planning document where you've actually thought about the question, you've analysed it, and you've brainstormed. The next thing that we're going to do, and you're going to start this later in the week, is you're going to start collecting your information, okay? So this is when we're going to use the research helper. So we're up to here this week. Once we've gathered all of the information, I will have a look at your research helper to make sure that you've completed it correctly and make sure that you've kept on task. What will happen after that is we'll start composing. So composing is like building everything, putting everything together. So synthesize is about thinking about your ideas in relation to the topic of the question. And then we look at organising. So once we've done our research helper, we're going to go back and we're going to create a detailed plan. So detailed plan, and then from that, we'll start writing our first draft. Once we've done our first draft, we will revise. I'm going to allow 2 or 3 drafts. And then we're going to edit and finally publish. So publish is when you give it to me, the final one, but we're probably going to do 3 drafts. So this is just to give you an idea of what we're going to be doing as we go through this entire process. Right, so as I said, for today's class, all I would like you to do not here, sorry. All I would like you to do is to complete this section based on any of these 1, 2, 3 questions, so whatever topic you wish. Have a think about the similarities, the differences for different features, and then finally complete this document. So that's all you need to do for this class. As usual, please take a photograph so that I can see you've completed your work, and also I'll have a look to make sure that you've done a great job. Thank you very much for your time, and I'll see you in the next class.